Communism, Government and Innovation Planning. Economies combine planning with the market. Planning takes place in the government and in corporations. Markets are structured by laws and institutions, and all economies of the world are mixtures of planning and market-determined elements. China is no exception. When the CPC took power in 1949, it followed the economic path of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. The USSR was Russian-based, Communist Party-led, and confident. It had sporadically supported the CPC since 1921, it had defeated Nazi Germany with Allied help, and it had set up socialist governments from Prague to Pyong Yang. Following the Soviet example, the CPC in China in the 1950s redistributed land, nationalized key industries, collectivized the agricultural and small business sectors, set prices for major commodities, took exclusive control of foreign trade, and starting in 1953, implemented 5-year economic plans. The 5-year plans set out medium-term targets to be implemented by 5 successive annual plans. The Soviet ideal was to summarize the whole economy into a single input-output matrix. Factor inputs created goods and service outputs. The CPC's early plans focused on rapid industrialization and increased agricultural output. In an annual planning process known as 2 downs and 1 up, each ministry set targets for the enterprise under its control. The enterprises assessed the targets, bearing in mind what was possible, and submitted their adjusted plans back to the ministry, and then the ministry synthesized, balanced, and sent down the final plans to their enterprises. The first 5-year plan, that was 1953 to 1957, coincided with the Sino-Soviet alliance and the largest state-to-state transfer of technology in world history. Designs, manufacturing technology, equipment, experts, construction, installation, debugging, training, and instruction. Steel, petroleum, heavy machinery, machine measuring and cutting tools, instruments, bearings, switches, electric generators, power plants, mining equipment, oil drilling and refining facilities, trucks, tractors, locomotives, aircraft, artillery, tanks, fighter jets, and rockets. In 1956, the Sino-Soviet alliance began to fray. By 1960, the USSR and China were in serious conflict, personal, ideological, and political. But the USSR planning model had been successfully transferred to China, where it evolved for another 20 years before being gradually replaced. Soviet-style central planning achieved success in China. An average annual real growth rate, that is, growth before inflation, of over 4% per year. In nominal terms, that was a growth rate of about 7%, counting a 3% rate of inflation. However, growth was plagued by volatility. Stellar achievements were interspersed with sporadic, catastrophic miscalculations like the Great Leap Forward and the years of natural disasters that delayed the start of the third 5-year plan from 1963 to 1966. Moreover, by the 1970s, stagnation and bureaucratic inertia that were so damaging to the USSR were increasingly evident in China, and Soviet-style central planning did not stimulate innovation. In 1978, China embarked on reforming and opening up. Domestically, it increased private ownership and the role of the market. Internationally, it opened to foreign investors, buyers and sellers. From 1978 to 2018, real annual rates of GDP growth exceeded 7% per year on average. Add 3% inflation, and one gets over 10% nominal annual GDP growth. Unprecedentedly high, consistent growth rates for a large, underdeveloped economy. Yet the reforming and opening up did not end the 5-year plans. They continue down to the present. The most recent is the 14th 5-year plan of 2021 to 2025. But the 14th 5-year plan is nothing like the first 5-year plans written and followed in the 1950s, 1960s, and 1970s. There are no more grand input-output matrices. 2 downs and 1 up has been consigned to the dustbin of history. The Planning Commission has become the National Development and Reform Commission. The National Development and Reform Commission is a macroeconomic development policy commission, setting development policies and goals. It's very much like development commissions located in market-based countries in other parts of the world. Government officials no longer run companies. State-owned enterprises, many of which have shares trading on domestic and foreign stock exchanges, are run according to corporate key performance indicators using management techniques familiar in market-based economies. And China today is far more market-based than plan-based. The nearly 25 million private enterprises in China can be summarized by the number 56789. 5. Private enterprise contributes more than 50% of the country's taxes. 6. Private enterprises' share of GDP, fixed asset investment, and outgoing FDI all exceed 60%. 7. Private enterprises account for more than 70% of high technology enterprises. 8. Private enterprises account for more than 80% of employment. And 9. Private enterprises account for more than 90% of new jobs. Market mechanisms determine the prices of goods and services bought and sold by private citizens, private enterprises, non-government organizations, state-owned enterprises, government departments, and foreign suppliers and buyers. Yet the 5-year planning cycle is still very much alive. Every 5 years, the Politburo of the CPC Standing Committee expresses the mission and vision of the CPC through an economic plan for the next at least 5 years, as well as for the longer term. It gives the plan to the National People's Congress, which the National People's Congress then passes without amendment. The plan is not detailed. It is a set of exhortations, slogans, maxims, and principles. A CPC member faithfully implementing the exhortations of the 5-year plan will encounter many issues, conflicts, and alternative interpretations. So, national, provincial, and local government officers, CPC members throughout society, and all others who, in anticipation of the CPC's policies, make decisions to capitalize on society's development, must study the plan carefully. The plan reverberates across the entire country, affecting countless decisions. Recent calls in the plan include: complete the moderately prosperous society, start the journey of building a full modern socialist country, persist in innovation-driven development, promote the optimization and upgrading of the economic system, form a strong domestic market, deepen reforms and build a high-level socialist market economic system, promote rural revitalization, optimize land use, stimulate cultural activities, improve national cultural soft power, promote green development and the harmony between the people and nature, achieve a high degree of openness to the outside world, open new prospects for win-win cooperation, improve the quality of people's lives, and raise social standards. There are also some quantitative targets. For example, increase the GDP per capita to a level of US dollars 30,000 per person by 2035. Realize maximum carbon emissions by 2030. and achieve carbon net zero emissions by 2060. But the 5-year plan is not a single detailed plan for how to get to those quantitative targets. CPC members, since founding the party, have studied the words of Karl Marx, Friedrich Engels, Vladimir Lenin, Joseph Stalin, Mao Zedong, Deng Xiaoping, Jiang Zemin, Hu Jintao, and now especially Xi Jinping. They are the standard bearers of the party. For many in China today, however, the ultimate goal of communism does not inspire. The communist ideal recedes into the mist of a future where time is measured in centuries. It is a utopia in which few fervently believe, even within the CPC. Crossing the river by feeling the stones and building a modestly prosperous society, these prosaic slogans are the reality of the CPC today, and they too fail to inspire. Yet one goal resonates: the great renaissance of the Chinese people, raising China to a status no less than any power on earth, economically, socially, culturally, environmentally, politically, diplomatically, and militarily. The Great Renaissance captures the imagination. This China dream is achievable within the lifetimes of most people that are alive today. It can become reality by the year 2049, the 100th anniversary of the birth of the People's Republic of China. The pursuit of this nationalistic goal with socialist ideals, led by a trusted government, is the greatest triumph of the CPC today.